Happy early Lunar New Year. We don't give red envelopes around here, so you're going to have to settle for listening to us talk about a bunch of news on the Android Police podcast.
It is Friday, January 24th. Welcome. I'm Ryan Whitwam, along with Corbin Davenport. And as you heard, this is the Android Police podcast. So we're going to talk about Android, mostly, starting with probably what will be one of the most popular Android phones of this whole year, the Galaxy S20. So we got what is allegedly the very first official press render of the phone. Before this, we've seen renders of the devices already, but those have all been based on leaked CAD files. They've been, the impressions that people have based on those. This is supposedly something that Samsung would actually release. Like, this is the photo that they have created of the phone, and it's a pretty good match for what we've already seen, which isn't really surprising. A lot of these CAD render leaks are usually pretty accurate. So. This is the S20 Ultra 5G, will only apparently be available as a 5G device. So the front is basically all screen. Obviously, it has the hole punch camera on the middle top, just like the Note 10. On the back, the camera array, it looks a little bit different than some of the previous renders because based on those CAD files, you couldn't tell that there was sort of like a two-tone thing going on. There's a square block with 3 cameras and a flash. And then below that, there's like an extra sort of section tacked onto it that gives it like that elongated rectangle shape, and that is where you will have a periscope camera, which I don't know. Have there been any phones in the US with a periscope camera? It was like Oppo and like some other Chinese company, maybe Huawei, that did a periscope camera. I don't know if this ever came to the US.
Not that I can remember. Just like slightly higher zoom lenses, like on the OnePlus.
So supposedly this will be a 10x optical zoom camera, which is pretty cool on a phone. However, Samsung is weirdly, they're going to print 100x space zoom next to that camera sensor. And from what we understand, 100x is the maximum digital zoom that you can do with that camera. I think that is very bizarre that they would print that on the phone.
Just a little bit misleading. And also it kind of matches what Huawei does, where they put huge text next to the camera to flex on it. But
yeah, it's a Leica camera.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, no, but so the render also, it shows the phone from the side, and that camera module really, really sticks out there. It is pretty massive.
Yeah, and it's huge, and it's not even like the Galaxy S10 where it was situated in the middle. So if you laid the phone flat on a table, it still wouldn't wobble. This looks like it will be wobbling a lot. You'll probably.
Yeah, I mean, it extends like to the middle of the phone. Basically, it's half as wide as the phone itself, almost, and yeah, I feel like it's gonna weigh the top of the phone down. It's gonna be like unbalanced or something.
Yeah,
but Samsung did need to do something about their cameras. I mean, for a long time they were way out in the lead, and over the last, I guess, 2-3 generations, they've started to fall behind.
Yeah, I really hope they have some nice improvements to the general image processing, because that's just. It's not great.
Yeah, I feel like Samsung phones, they always lean towards doing really long exposures, and that just makes things look blurry.
Yeah, it's long exposures. It's a lot of oversaturation still, to the point where like I almost prefer OnePlus's photos over Samsung's, just because OnePlus looks a little bit more realistic.
Yeah, I mean, I think there are situations where OnePlus photos look better. Yeah. I mean, hopefully Samsung is addressing this, and I mean, I think that the consensus after the Galaxy S10 and Note 10 was that Samsung is falling behind, and hopefully they heard that.
Yeah, because definitely Apple stepped up last year, so that really leaves Samsung to try to catch up.
Yeah, I mean, and Apple is really what Samsung focuses on. That they
Right.
are the main alternative to Apple as the largest Android OEM. But this phone is going to be like their mega top of the line device, which we believe will start significantly higher than $1,000. Like the
In
S20
the
Plus will probably be around 1,000, and this will be maybe 1,300, 1,400 even.
Yeah, in the well, at least for the 4 months until the Note 11 comes out, and then we'll get something even more expensive and high end.
Yeah, eventually they'll all just be $2,000 phones, and people will, I guess, still buy them.
Yep, as long as I can get them on a payment plan. Uh, so shifting gears to LG, which we don't talk about a lot these days because they're kind of just their smartphone division's kind of just hanging in there at this point. But they did get some coverage for a feature in their Android 10 update for the LG. What was it? The G8? Is that? Oh, it's
V50.
uh, okay. Yeah. So they're the V50 and maybe some other phones that get updated to Android 10 if they have the hardware. They have a new desktop mode in their OS that kind of looks like Samsung DeX a little bit.
Yeah.
Presumably, it's based on the desktop mode that Google built into Android 10 that they don't really take advantage of on their Pixels, but they still leave in there as like a building block for OEMs to build their own solutions on top of. But there is a video of this in action from some gadget guy on YouTube. That's his channel name, and
That's not just you being dismissive.
yeah, it's just this person. Yeah, but yeah, I mean, it looks kind of like Dex. It doesn't look like it has sort of the more in-depth changes that Dex has. It's sort of just the Android floating windows with a very minimal taskbar at the bottom. But yeah, it's something. Google is not doing this on their Pixels.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's nice that this exists, but I mean, I don't know how much people really want this on their phones. I mean, so in
Yeah,
in the video that we covered, Juan Carlos Bagnell is very pro desktop UIs on a phone. He actually advocates using it to do work, and I don't know that I want to do that. I've
no,
used Dex a couple of times to like do something, and it's
yeah,
never as efficient as using like a real computer.
I've used the Dex dock with my S10e, and I've used Dex on my Galaxy Tab. It's okay on the Galaxy Tab because you don't have to worry about like app scaling because it's running on the device's screen itself, so it's not that bad. But the Dex dock is just terrible. Like I would get text that looked like it wasn't scaled right in all these apps, and even the apps that are supposed to be built with Dex in mind, like the Microsoft Office apps, they're still really, really janky to use. So it's just I don't like using it whatsoever. The Dex stock went back in my closet and it hasn't come out since. But yeah, I guess some people want to use this, so there you go. There's one reason to buy an LG phone besides the headphone jack.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, I feel like LG's problem is they're doing all of the things Samsung does, but they just don't do it as well.
Yeah, like you can tell this isn't nearly as advanced as Dex, which Samsung has had for a couple of years now, and they keep iterating it every OS update.
Yeah, I mean, LG's phones aren't bad. They don't really have the same value proposition I think that a Samsung phone does. Even if a Samsung phone is, going to start a couple hundred more, I feel like LG just, they need to do their own thing and not just, try to follow Samsung.
Yeah, and it's even now, now that Samsung's ramping up software updates, like I think Android 10 is already on most of their flagships from last year and some from like the S9 era now, and LG's still like they barely have Android 10 on their phones at this point.
Hmm.
So yeah,
Well, let's take a quick break from the news and shill for the Twitch channel. Uh, if you may be watching this on Twitch, and if you're not, you should join us for the live streams. We are streaming 4 times a week. There are 3 podcasts and a Q&A show, and we can't keep doing all of those streams without support. So the good news is you can do that really easily. If you're an Amazon Prime subscriber, just head to twitch.tv/AndroidPolice, and you have a free subscription every month. You can link your account to Amazon and give us that subscription. You do have to re-up every month. But that is free money for us. It doesn't cost you anything extra. And we are also running a giveaway on Android Police right now. We have a bunch of 45-watt USB-C chargers, and you get an extra entry in the giveaway if you subscribe. So
you get several entries.
Oh, you can get several, yeah.
Yeah.
So it's a good deal all around. If you don't have Amazon Prime, you can still subscribe for money. You can subscribe for as little as $5 a month. But if you get Amazon Prime, it's free for you, and that is good for us. So go to twitch.tv/AndroidPolice, and now we will get back to the show and talk about favicons, which
my favorite topic.
Not usually super interesting. Not really super interesting this time, but of note. Because you might remember last year, Google rolled out a new search UI on mobile, which focused on having site favicons next to the page title, which it said was great for branding and whatever. But at the same time, they also changed the ad indicator. So the stuff at the top of the page that is sponsored, they had it was a very small like black ad badge, and it looked very similar to the favicons that would follow the actual organic results. And they just rolled that out on desktop, and people are not really enthused with that. It does look, it makes the ads look a lot more like the search results. And if you look at how Google has changed their search page UI over time, the ads have been getting less, obtrusive. Like they're blending in more and more with the search results. And I feel like with the mobile version, it wasn't as obvious because mobile search results, they're in like frames. So
right.
Like they're all like separated. They feel like separate items anyway. But on desktop, Google has been getting hit for this. And just a little bit ago, they announced that they're reevaluating. They're going to maybe change some stuff. And I think as we were starting to record, search results started not having favicons.
Right, they're starting to roll back to the previous design.
Yeah, but the ads still have the little just simple black ad badge. So I feel like that's still not as obvious as what they used before, which was like it was like green and outlined.
Yeah. Well, for me it says ad, but the word is bolded. So I think that's a little bit better than what it was.
I think that's what it was before. It was bolded.
Okay. Maybe I'm
but it fits in a favicon sort of space.
Yeah, it's on like the left next to the website now.
Yeah. So I can understand the concern because Google has definitely been making ads easier to miss. People are much more likely, I think, to click on these thinking that they are organic search results, and that gets Google more money. So I don't know. They probably shouldn't have done this. When they're already under a microscope for so many other things. You just don't want to give people a reason.
Yeah, and more reason to use DuckDuckGo, guys.
Sure, if you want bad search results.
Well, okay. Sometimes I do have to go back to Google for a couple things, but DuckDuckGo's pretty close now. They're just really terrible for like if I need to search for something news, then I have to use Google every time because DuckDuckGo refreshes new stuff really slowly. Compared to Google, like if I search, like it heard me. I keep forgetting to.
The mic's off.
Okay, there we go. But yeah, so yeah, not the best move, Google, but they're going back to the drawing board, and I'm sure they'll come up with something that is still slightly worse than the previous design, but just enough to evade government pressure.
Yep. All right. Well, there's another company that had some issues this week.
Yes. Everyone's favorite speaker system, Sonos, came under a lot of heat because they announced a bunch of their older products would no longer be supported. So a lot of their hardware between 2005 and 2015, some of them aren't even uh, longer than 4 years old at this point, will no longer get software updates. And they were they were pretty terrible about communicating exactly what this would mean. Like it wasn't clear if like would they just suddenly stop working at some point, like what happens to a lot of smart home products, or would they kind of work but they wouldn't get new stuff. And it was so bad to the point where the CEO came out and tried to re-communicate it. um, but it's still a lot. The
Yeah.
gist is that you can keep your existing Sonos hardware, but as long as those older products are in your system stays at the current version. So, if in 3 months Sonos decides to roll out a really cool feature, you won't get it as long as those speakers are in your system. And I
Yeah.
think got
And their remedy for this is pretty dumb. They said they would let users split their systems to keep the old stuff like on a separate group so that their other speakers could get updates, but that really kind of defeats the purpose of having Sonos speakers.
yeah, and and it kind of comes back to the thing like, okay, but how much processing power do you really need to play music compared to how much was required five
I
years
mean,
ago?
have you seen the state of Sonos's really garbage apps? I feel like they're not very good at software.
Well, I guess I've been fortunate not to invest in Sonos. But again, this is all. It's like Sonos really set out this month to just have the worst PR of any tech company
Yeah,
because
this comes just after somebody pointed out that their trade up program for recycling really just bricks your speakers so that they
yeah,
can't be used anymore by anyone, which is just wasteful and dumb. But that of course is something they are promoting now when they're killing these old products. They're not killing them. They're
yes.
going to
If you
stop
have
supporting them.
yeah, if you have a speaker that's going to be unsupported, you can trade it in and get a very small value of that back towards a new
Yeah,
speaker.
yeah, you get like a 30%
Yeah.
credit, and yeah, but then when you do the recycle mode thing, it just the speaker stops working after 21 days or whatever, and you have to like have it like actually physically like recycled, like dismantled into parts. Otherwise, it's just going to end up in a landfill because you can't refurbish it and use it again, which is the best option when you recycle something.
Yeah, not a good move from Sonos. And it's always interesting to me that it's interesting to me the stories from smart home devices stopping to work, because we're still kind of so early in this market where a lot of the big players haven't had to
Mm-hmm.
drop support for anything yet, because we're
Yeah, I mean,
still pretty early in this. But like this happened, I remember, I think it was last year with Logitech dropping their Harmony Hub. That was a big one too.
yeah. I mean, I think speakers in particular are a really problematic sort of smart home thing for people because traditionally people have been able to purchase high end speakers and assume that they would work the same way for, decades,
Mhm.
because that's just how a nice speaker is. But and Sonos makes like very acoustically impressive speakers, and they're very expensive. And and now we're seeing like maybe after a few years they're just not really gonna work anymore.
Yeah. So, uh, if you have older Sonos speakers, you might need to uh do something about that, maybe, if you want to keep getting new features. Or
Hmm.
if there's a possibility that stuff could start breaking if they're leaving these systems on an unsupported software stack.
Yeah, I also wonder if I mean these are like internet connected devices on your network. I wonder if they stop updating them, are there going to be like security issues? Is this like an attack surface for somebody to like get into your network?
Um, I wouldn't remove that possibility. I don't know what like the underlying OS is, but I know with a lot of smart home stuff, it's usually like an incredibly old version of Linux that maybe shouldn't be used. Um,
Yeah,
but
I mean, and so like we should point out Sonos is also doing this, just like a month after, or not even a month, a few weeks after they sued Google because they said Google copied their streaming technology. But they didn't have money to sue Amazon. Amazon did the same thing. So I don't know if there's like a monetary aspect of this decision, but
Yeah. And Chris Davies over at Slash Gear kind of brought up something along Ryan's point, where he mentioned that this might be sort of an inevitability because these devices again have to be continuously updated and secured. But yeah, it's difficult to talk about this without knowing like what exactly the hardware and software differences are between their 2014 speaker and their 2020 speaker. I feel like it shouldn't be that much of a difference, but I don't know what goes into their products. And again, I don't actually own any Sonos speakers, which has worked out for me today. I just have boring old speakers.
yeah. Well, if you're feeling bummed about your Sonos stuff no longer working, then you can, I guess, just buy an Android Mini Fig to like cheer up. There are some new ones available. Is it still available, or did it sell out? It's Lunar New Year, as we mentioned earlier, and Dead Zebra usually does a special edition Mini, and yes, it is still available as of now. So $12, and it's a cute little rat Android thing. Um, and they increased the odds of getting the special gold version to 50-50. So you might get the blue gray one, you might get the gold one. I actually think the blue one is better, but
Yeah, the blue one's cuter.
yeah. But so this is it's available now. It's one per household. You can. Oh wait, it just sold out. Great. Thank you, Google, for the update.
Yeah, might have to cut this out of the audio version since it's completely irrelevant.
It might have just sold out like while we are doing the show, but
It
oh
says
well.
You can add to wish list, so maybe it'll come back in a week or something.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, they might get more like if people cancel orders in the next day or so. So I don't know. Check back later. But
keep refreshing the page. This is very important.
Okay. Do we have any questions? Somebody in the chat room claims that they know someone from Google who says that the ad team can overrule privacy features in other departments. I would like to have some sort of evidence of that. I don't know that I'm willing to take someone's word.
Ryan, my dad works at Nintendo, so he can confirm.
Okay. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if Google definitely spends time thinking about how ads will work, because it is an advertising company. They make 90% or 95% of their money on ads.
I know there were reports about their, I don't know if it was the privacy team or some other human relations team, but that was getting overruled when Google was developing the Chinese search engine. So
yeah, which they never actually finished, as far as we're aware.
That got dumped.
Yeah. All right. Well, if there are no other pressing questions, then I guess Corbin, you want to take us out?
I will. So all the topics we've talked about today can be found at androidpolice.com/podcast, except that Dead Zebra thing that's probably sold out by the time you hear this. We're live 4 times a week at twitch.tv/androidpolice, and we'd love to hear your thoughts about the show. If you want to tell us how you like it, or maybe you want to tell us how your day's going, that's sweet too. You can do that at podcast@androidpolice.com. On Twitter, I'm at Corbin Davenport. Ryan is at Ryan Whitwam. Our producer, Jules Wong, is at Point Jules, and our theme music is by Home. We'll be back for a new week of podcast starting on Monday, but until then, enjoy the new year if you celebrate it. And for everyone, have fun this weekend.